apologize. I've raised your anxiety level. So my prescription for lunch is going to be go outside, enjoy the sunlight, and Dr. Panda might say this is probably a good time of day to deal with this in any case. I am an underwater explorer, and I work in places that are very different from where you spend your days. So you might find me on top of the sea ice in the Northwest Passage. You may find me underneath the ice, or perhaps even inside an iceberg in Antarctica, swimming through caves. You'll probably find me using a lot of equipment. This is actually before I pick up my camera, so there's a lot more to come after this. You may even find me in the middle of the Sahara Desert on the Libyan border looking for a place to dive. And yes, there are places to dive in the Sahara Desert. Perhaps you'll even find me underneath the Ural Mountains in Siberia, because there are caves there as well. Maybe even inside a volcano in Lanzarote. You might even find me teaching someone like this familiar face. This is James Cameron, as he was preparing to make the Avatar movies and a movie about cave diving. I had an opportunity to teach him his first cave dives. Or you'll find me in the middle of a Florida swamp and wonder why I'm there. But it's because there are beautiful caves beneath these spaces. And caves are my domain, my very special place to do my work. I'm an explorer. Like many of you in this room, we are all explorers. Now, for me, how is that made up? And you'll probably be surprised to learn that I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Visual Communications Design, but I have an advanced degree in curiosity. I'm definitely a novelty seeker, a sensation seeker, but that doesn't make me risky. I do take risks, but again, you'll be surprised to learn that I consider myself to be risk averse. There are no roadmaps for anyone that does something the first time. There's no handbooks. We are the people that make the maps. And when I say we, I mean you. Because obviously, you are going to places where we've never gone before and designing new ideas and protocols for dealing with things that haven't been thought about before. When we take risks, it does not mean that we are foolish. Would you call this man risky? It's a matter of perspective. And as explorers, we look at risk and we choose to step towards that risk, but do it in the best way that we possibly can as problem solvers. And that takes a lot of mindful preparation to take on some of the missions that I'm involved in. In this particular mission, I was involved with the U.S. Deep Caving Team in making the very first three-dimensional map of any subterranean space. So we were doing a lot of things that had never been done before. In this case, I was going off on a 22-hour mission deep into the planet. It was going to push me to my physiological limits. And so we had to prepare for that in every way we could, even though this was a first. And so for me, that meant to look at all of the problems that could possibly occur, and prepare for them in advance. Training. We have to identify all the risks and everything that scares us before we even embark on the mission. In this case, I was on my way to Antarctica, a 12-day crossing of the Southern Ocean from New Zealand down to Antarctica, to be the first people to cave dive inside an iceberg. But first we had to get there, and there were a lot of risks just to get there, like getting trapped in the ice. So we had to think of all of these things in advance and try to mitigate everything. So by the time we actually got in the water for some of these dangerous missions, then there was nothing left to be afraid of. So that's pre-visualization. I might have years of preparation and training and planning, but then right before the dive, I need to pre-visualize everything that could possibly happen on the dive. What could go wrong with my equipment? What could happen to my buddy? What environmental issues do we have to face on this particular mission? And I work through each of those things one by one, and I pre-visualize a successful outcome. So if this hose explodes, I'll reach back with my right hand and turn off that valve, and then I'll move to manually control my life support system. Okay, check. Well, what else could go wrong? Well, the silt might rain down from the ceiling and I have no visibility whatsoever. That's okay. I'll just reach over and grasp the guideline and use that as a tactile reference to find my way home. So that pre-visualization gives us a toolbox of solutions for all the risks that we perceive in advance of the dive. So I'm scared before I go diving, and I want to dive with people that are scared. And that pre-visualization lets us work through those fears so that by the time we dip beneath the surface, we are just prepared with a toolbox of solutions for anything that might go wrong. So that's advanced problem solving. But advanced problem solving also includes handling multiple issues at once, multiple risks. Things pile up. It's never one small problem that happens underwater. It's a snowball of things that occur. And so we have to be able to think about these things in advance too. All through this visualization, it's important to be thinking about successful outcomes. So the positive motor control actions that we're going to take, but also the emotional successes. So we need to remove that stress before we descend underwater. Rehearsal's really, really important. Before I do some massive cave dive 22 hours into the planet, I've already spent time rehearsing with my team in an area that's less dangerous to us. So we might put on all of the equipment that we're going to use, in this case, some 600 pounds of gear in order to go into this environment. And then we rehearse. So we have people swim up to us with cue cards that say, your scooter failed. And then someone else will swim up and say, your oxygen line just exploded. And then someone else will swim up and give us a third thing to pile on top of that. So we deal with each problem as it comes up. We correct the issue if we can, or we abort the mission and start swimming in the opposite direction, but dealing with the problem as we go. And those repeated rehearsals, again, give us an opportunity to pre-visualize the success down the road. But ultimately, once you're on the dive, on the mission, things go wrong, and we have to manage the crises. And knowing how to manage the crises in the moment is important as well. Most important thing is learning to breathe. Because when something goes wrong, when I'm trapped in a cave that's no larger than the space beneath the seats that you're sitting in, and I'm in zero visibility, and I've lost the guideline leading to the exit, that is terrifying. Your heart races, your breathing ramps up, and then what I call an explosion of chattering monkeys starts to go off inside your head. It's everything from, oh my God, how am I going to get out? Oh my God, I might die today, to, oh my God, my husband doesn't know how to do the taxes. It's insane, the things that happen. And what you have to do is center, take a deep, fulfilling breath all the way down to the bottom of your pelvis and up to the top of your shoulders. And then say, emotions, you won't serve me today. And separate those and send them away. Because immediately your breathing will come under control, your heart rate will slow down, and that's critical for me. Every breath gets me closer to the exit of the cave. So that emotional separation is critical. And it's not easy. We have to learn to do that. We have to learn to do that by facing multiple threats. Now, after the crisis has happened, it can be tempting to visualize the ultimate success for the very big problem, but it can be impossible to see what that success looks like. Whether that's, I want to be a brain surgeon, or whether that's, how are we going to fix climate change, or whether it's, how am I going to get out from underneath this seat here that I'm trapped under? It's important to just focus on the now and choose to accept small victories, because success is made up of a very long series of very small steps towards success. We don't know how to change the climate. We might not know how to get untrapped from underneath this seat, but we always know what the next best step is in life. And when we can focus on those small victories, it makes all the difference in the world. That also means we have to understand our limits, though, and know when to abort. My ultimate rule of survivors is that I have to be willing to get within a hair's breadth of what I consider to be complete success, but also know when to turn around and say, no, not today, maybe not ever. And then we have to be able to reframe what others might call or perceive of as failure. To me, there is no failure. It's all discovery learning. Everything that's happened in our lives, the good, the bad, the ugly, the terrifying, the things that cause the PTSD, everything that's happened in life informs us how to move forward in a better way. And that's discovery learning. And when we can remove that concept of failure, especially from a young person, it opens a lot of doors. And then after the threat, the post-processing comes next. I have to find a time to reconnect with those emotions, bring them back in and say, okay, it's time. The Brits have this great saying that we'll have time later for tea and medals, right? And yeah, I'll have time later to cry about this terrifying experience, but right now the emotions won't serve me underwater. So afterwards, it's important to have time for mindful assessment. What happened? What is my purpose? How do I move forward? What comes next? And how do I avoid being caught in that trap of continuing to deliver something that's more and more thrilling and exciting with every post about the work that I do? I mean, that's true for a kid that's just posting on social media. How do we help them stay away from that trap of trying to be better with every single thing that happens? What it comes down to for me is critical skills. And when I'm hiring or developing a team for a project, I'm looking for people who are versatile, resilient, and are great collaborators. And to kids, I want to let them know that it's not necessarily like the subject matter that they're learning in school, it's the soft skills that are important. It's those soft skills that will prepare them for the future, those social skills, the creativity, the collaboration, the multitasking, the empathy. And today, kids have an unprecedented ability to be able to connect with people all around the world. And that global interconnectivity means that they'll be able to learn about things that they don't know about, the subject matter that they'll need later. They'll be able to reach out and collaborate with others. But most importantly, I want to tell kids that fear is healthy and that I don't want them to run from it. I actually want them to embrace it and step towards it. It's going to require curiosity. It's going to require critical thinking. It's going to require adaptability, mobility, multiple literacies. But ultimately, what I'm asking kids and also you in the room to do is to be prepared to step into the darkness. Now, I don't expect you to become cave divers. You might never enter an underwater cave, but you all have virtual caves in your own lives. And when we make a pledge to step into the darkness, and allow our eyes for a moment, just a moment, to adjust to that new level of light. That is where you stand on the threshold of discovery and exploration. And that's where you have an opportunity to do something that's completely new for yourself, or maybe new for humanity. And that's where the magic lies. So thank you very much, Vicki. I'm so honored to be a part of this collaboration today, and it's wonderful to be here with you.